Could there be a surprise starter for the Kentucky Wildcats? Carson and I think so, and we're going to tell you who that player is on today's episode of the Wildcats Today Podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Stefaniak, publisher over at Kentucky Wildcats on SI, joined as always by Carson Nash. And Carson, we're going to talk a little bit of football today, which of course the Cats play football on Saturday. Are we pretty fired up about that?
Oh, I'm super stoked. You know, it's football time in the bluegrass, baby. Yep. So I'm ecstatic about that one. And there's also some great games on that day as well. You know, we got football. Football's here.
Texas, Oklahoma. Texas, Ohio State's at noon.
Yeah,
that's going to be awesome.
Yeah,
I don't like that game's at noon though. Like, why? Why are we doing that?
I think that should be the night game. I wish it was the night game
because the Cats play at 12:45, and it's like, what do? Do you stay at home and now? Luckily, at Mike's house, we have literally 4 TVs set up, 4 TVs, and like and so that's. I mean, maybe that's.
I'll be in the airport watching the Cats on the way on my trip back.
Cats home from Oasis. But so we're going to talk about the quarterback situation. Of course, Coach Stoops named his starter. We'll talk about that at the tail end of the episode. But we wanted to get things started today talking a little bit about a player that Carson and I are kind of buying into more as the days go on. And that player is our sweet European prince, Mr. Andrea Jelovic. You know, Carson and I have been believers in his for a while. And while we have this conversation, this is not any negativity toward Mo Diabate. He hasn't done anything wrong. Carson and I are leaning toward Jelovic being the guy that makes the most sense to start. Now, Carson, knowing that they have these different skill sets, and when you kind of look at what they do, and I wrote an article about this literally, it's what made me think for us to do this in the pod today, literally like 20 minutes ago. And I talked about how they have different skill sets. We would look at Diabate as more of a defense and rebounding first guy. We would look at Jelovic as a shooting, offense, ball handling guy first. But Jelovic can block shots and defend and rebound. And Diabate can shoot the ball. Diabate can clean things up around the rim, get rebounds, put them back up for points. They're both well-rounded players. But to me, based on both of these guys' skill sets, and knowing that Jelovic doesn't lack a ton on defense, I lean toward him being the starter for this team, Carson, and I think you agree.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, we talked about it. I was probably back in May, and when we were projecting the starting lineup, and, you know, I went with Jelovic over Mo D then.
Yeah.
I just think he brings something different to this team. Mo D is a fantastic basketball player, but he just doesn't spread the floor or facilitate as well as Andrea Jelovic can. Jelovic can bring the ball up the court. He can be deadly in that Amari Williams role at the top of the key, spreading the court. So I think just giving him the nod and letting Mo D run a little bit with the twos, because I think the twos need a little more physicality and tenaciousness within their group. So I think having Jelovic being able to spread the floor, because, I mean, with the ones, you got Lowe who can shoot it. Ortega's really good when he's open. And then you got you don't know about the 3 yet. I'm assuming Ortega's the 3, Aberdeen's a 2, whatever, however you want to switch them. But I think it provides a little more height as well. And I think Jelovic on the offensive side gives us so much more upside in what Mark Pope wants to do with this offense.
I agree with everything you said. Also, I do want to throw something out there before I respond to that. We are only, I believe, 9 subscribers away from 2,800. So if keep hitting that button for us, we'd really, really appreciate that. Once again, if you're watching, you're not subscribed, it's just the press of a button. That's all it takes. It helps us out, helps the show out a ton. So please hit that button.
Road to 3K.
Yeah, road to 3K. That'd be really great if we could get there like sooner, like halfway through the football season, maybe earlier than that. So keep hitting that button. We would really appreciate it. But to respond to what you said, Carson, which, by the way, tenaciousness, if that is a word, is word of the day so far. I don't know about that. Like, because that's a play on tenacity. But
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a good pull. I was sitting there going, man, freaking Oxford over here. Good pull, Mr. Nash. But Yelovich is a taller player than Mo D. I look at Mo Diabate, and once again, I think we're gonna have people flood to the comments and think we're hating on Mo D. That is the furthest from the truth. We are not. We love him as a player. We know what he's going to do for this team. We've seen what he's done to us personally when we played Alabama last year. I mean, he's an absolute animal on a rabid animal on the court. I mean, that's just who he is. He's a great player. He's got that New York style of basketball to him. But I mean, he is a 6'7" power forward. And he's more of a gadget guy. Like, he's a guy you throw out there. He's going to play close 20 minutes a game. I'm not saying he's not going to play a lot. I'm just saying, I think for what we want to do at Kentucky under Mark Pope right now, Yelovich better fits that. He better fits that mold. That does not mean Mo D's not going to play. He's going to play a lot. Like I said, I think he's going to play close to 20 minutes a game. And I think there'll be some games where you need that out of Diabate. But what you said, Carson, that I think is perfect, and honestly, I hadn't even thought about this point. It's a great point, was that this kind of second wave of players, when you have Jasper out there, so, and some of those other guys, maybe if you have Malachi or you have Garrett, when you have some of these other guys.
Cam Williams, Jasper.
Yeah. When you have that group of players, I think physicality from Diabate could be really helpful. And the help on the glass could be really helpful. Not to say Williams and Jasper can't help you on the glass, but Mo Diabate out there to be physical and rebound the basketball when that second team comes in will be very, very helpful. I just think that our defense will lack a little bit if Yelovich is coming in with that crew. And once again, I don't think Yelovich is a bad defender. He's just not as good as Diabate. Same as to say, I don't think Diabate is a bad offensive player. He's just not as good as Yelovich. That's the reality here. They have different skill sets, opposite skill sets, which I think is a great thing, because based on what's going on within a game, how teams are playing against us, we can throw out one of our different power forwards that can play the games in different ways, but don't lack skill at any aspect of the game.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And I like how you said that Mo D will play more in certain situations, because, I mean, it's a good problem to have. We're talking about Mo D and Andre Yelovich, two great basketball players. So, like, when you go up against Arkansas and, you're going against Carter Knox, who can handle the ball well, but he's more of a three, you start Mo D and just say, hey, Mo, this is your assignment the whole entire game. And, you can fluctuate with them in and out just depending on the kind of matchup you get within different teams. So that's always a positive to have.
Yeah, I mean, it really is great to have that. Last year we just didn't have it. Carr and Ainsley were solid shooters and solid offensive players, but they lacked on defense. There wasn't a player where, heck, we need a big defensive performance out of a power forward today, right? Who are we going to get it from? Wasn't neither of those guys. Love them both. Wasn't neither of them. They weren't these elite defenders, especially when Carr was dealing with old man back. I mean, that was
Carr at the beginning of the season was pretty awesome, but then Carr went through a lot of injuries and everything. So we're not hating on Andrew Carr, but these guys definitely provide a little more athleticism, a little more side to side. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Lateral quickness.
Yes, I know. Yeah. Agree. But that's my point here is, I mean, those two guys just weren't the best defenders. And now I think we have two great defenders on our basketball team. Diabate being, I think, one of the best defensive power forwards in college basketball. But that's kind of been my takeaway. I just feel like it makes more sense to roll Yelovich out there based on his skill set. Now, if Yelovich proves to be a truly abysmal defender, don't see it happening, but let's play that game. Let's play devil's advocate. If that were to happen, then I think you're going to see 25 minutes out of Diabate and 15 minutes or less out of Yelovich. because you got to defend if you want to play for this team this year. That's a trend now. If you want to play, you're playing defense, and this staff is just now figuring out what they have in the guy. He just got here a few days ago, so that's the question mark. We have heard from scouts that Diabate is a solid, or that Jelavic is a solid defender, but we've still got to see it on tape. So he's got to prove that on film. And if Jelavic is able to do that, I think that he starts. If he struggles, that's when I lean toward Diabate starting over Jelavic. But I still right now think that he's a good enough defender that he's going to get the nod when the season starts.
And the crazy thing about that too is, I mean, Jelavic is a freshman, but he's 21, 22 years old, same age around Mo D, and he's been playing basketball for just as long. He was in a professional organization. I mean, so Jelavic, as much as we don't think he's ready for this, like if he needs some warm-up games, he's been a pro. He's been practicing with the pros. He's locked in. So I think this could be, like we said, we think he's going to start. It's a close race right now.
Yeah, I am 12. As Carlo from Benchwarmer said about Jelavic, yeah.
I want a number 9.
Yeah. That's such a great movie. If y'all haven't seen Benchwarmers, go watch Benchwarmers. I mean, that it is the best movie of all time. But so I kind of lean, and of course, I have a feeling, I have a guess, and I'm excited to see this. I think a lot of people are going to disagree with this here. That's a feeling I have, that's great. We'd love to have the discussion. If you disagree, let us know in the YouTube comments and give us your reason. Don't just say Carson Nash equals idiot, Jelavic stinks, Diabate all the way.
Andrew equals dude from Benchwarmers in the castle.
What?
Said Andrew equals dude in Benchwarmers that lives in the castle.
Oh, mother, I've made my pterodactyl peanut butter statue. Yeah, that's me. But don't let us know in the comments if you disagree. I'd like to know why. I want to know people's reasonings why, so we can have kind of a conversation, go back and forth a little bit. So let us know if you disagree. I have a feeling a lot of people are going to disagree. I think it's going to be 60-40 on this. That people are going to disagree with this. But now I think if you want to play devil's advocate against what we're arguing from the other side of what I think folks might say, and I don't fully disagree, we're going to have a lot of offensive firepower. So I'm going to throw this out at you, Carson, and you kind of like rebuttal to what I'm about to say. And this is going to be kind of, I think, what the opposite argument of what we're making is going to be. So I think people could say, on a team that already has a lot of offensive firepower, having a player like Diabate as the starter to play a lot of minutes and rebound the basketball and lock down as a defender could be a benefit to a team. So what would you say to folks that might say that?
Yeah, and 100%. If I were to rebuttal that, I would say Mo D sometimes clogs the lane and doesn't space the floor well, whereas I think Jelavic, like I said, can play the Amari Williams role and stand at the top of the key, and they can't drag off of him 10 yards, like they got to be up in his grill or he's shooting that thing, and he can pass, he can dribble. He just allows the offense to move, I think, a lot better. Not to say Mo D's not a good offensive player, because he's great in the pick and roll. I just don't think he wants to shoot threes. Like Jelavic, he'll chuck it up. Mo D is more of it's like an Ortega from last year. I have to be wide open, or else I'm not shooting it and I'm taking it to the rack, which I think allows, if Jelavic is in, I think it allows Ortega to get more clean runs at the rim and our cutters open. And it also allows Jelavic to take his man one-on-one, because sometimes the 4 on the other team, like we saw last year, is not as athletic. Yeah. So he can get by him and create his own shot.
Yeah, no, I agree. So that's kind of my take there, Carson. Do you have anything else to add to this conversation before we move? Talk a little.
No. And like we said, Mo D, and Mo D's a great player. Like this could go either way. Like Andrew said, 60% is going to disagree, 40% will agree. That's probably like where the odds are on who's going to start.
I agree.
It's right there. It's probably closer to like 55-50 or 45. Sorry. But I love Mo D, so I wouldn't be mad if he starts either. I just think Jelavic provides a little different buzz to this offense.
Yeah. And I think that my final point I want to add to this is, what a great world we're living in where we can even argue about this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, it's a great world that we are able to argue about who should start at power forward because we have two great power forwards who bring different looks to our basketball team because it was just not something we had last year. This is a massive boost to Kentucky. It's a great day that we get to have this conversation, in all honesty. Yep. That should be the main takeaway. Whether you're leaning Yelovich, you're leaning Diobate on who starts the power forward, it's just fun that we're even getting to talk about it. That's kind of my takeaway from it. So, but like we said, before we talk about quarterback, let us know in the YouTube comments what y'all think about this conversation. Do you agree? Do you disagree? And if you disagree, tell us why. If you agree, tell us why. We'd like to, really turn this into a conversation because I do think Yelovich is one of the wild cards on this basketball team where it could go either way. So let us know thoughts on that. Hit the subscribe button. Go let us know what you think about this conversation and what do you agree? What do you think about what we just had to say and where do you lie on the debate here? Let's get into a little bit of quarterback talk, Carson. Carson and I on Thursday, Carson's going to the Windy City for a concert. Yeah. And so we're going to record our preview for Toledo on Thursday morning. I'll put it out Friday, but we're going to record it on Thursday. But we wanted to talk a little bit yesterday. The news came out. Pete Thamel hit the ESPN boom start the day notification. That was great. It's great for a writer during the off season who needs just something to get you going in the morning. But that Zach Calzada is going to start for the Kentucky Wildcats. Carson Nash, immediate reactions to that statement.
Yeah. So it seemed like a back and forth battle between him and Cutter, which shout out Cutter for making it as close as it is. Cause we brought in Zach for that reason to be our starting quarterback this year. So it was good to see Cutter battle him for that long and to almost edge him out, honestly. But I think as much hype as Cutter was getting, I think Zach was just as good, if not better. So, I mean, everyone was like, oh, Cutter's not starting. Cutter's not starting. Well, I was like, well, maybe it's just because Zach has been doing really good. And so I had heard from somebody on the team 2 weeks prior that Zach had been killing it in practice. And so me and you were both in the realm of the Cutter Bowley just because we think it gives us more longevity as a program. But that's not to say Zach Calzada isn't killing it right now. And I think he's a senior. He's been in college for 18 years. Yeah. He's played SEC football before. I just think his experience edged out Cutter, and I think he's going to be good for us.
Yeah, and I mean he's in the article I wrote about this. I mean he's won big football games. He beat Alabama, a Nick Saban coached Alabama team at Texas A&M. He has won big football games. He's played in the SEC, and he's hungry. He's hungry to play in the SEC again. That's been one of my takeaways from hearing him speak is he is ready to give it another go in the SEC. He doesn't like what happened to him at his second stop at Auburn. He doesn't like the way that went. He is excited to get back in the SEC and try and compete and try and win some football games for Kentucky. And I wrote another article yesterday, and I was about this football team as a whole and get a little sidetracked. I think that this football team is a lot better than last year's football team. And I think that because how tough this schedule is, I think people are acting like this team is worse. I don't think the team's worse. I think the schedule is worse. Really, really tough.
Yeah.
And you can make the argument it's the same schedule because it is. You flip the home and aways. But the teams have gotten better. I mean, Florida's gotten better. South Carolina, Auburn, those teams have gotten a little bit better. Arch Manning's coming to town. I just think that the Vandy, we believe, you know what I mean? Like those teams have all taken a step in the right direction. Mm-hmm. So that's where it's kind of concerning. It's like the teams that you had a shot against last year have gotten better. But
you know what I miss?
Maybe we have too. What do you miss?
I miss when Mississippi State was our cross-conference rival.
Yeah, and Vandy sucked. I mean, there was two wins pretty much all year almost.
I know. Those were easy. That would help us get to a bowl.
Yeah, there was a time where Missouri sucked. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just in the East, back in the days of the East and the West, we had it made with Missouri and Vandy and
Mississippi State
as our cross rival. So, but I do think this football team is better than last year's football team. And Calzada, so here's the deal. I agree with this decision. I'm going to give the cliche yes and no. Okay. You paid Calzada. I don't know this full number he got paid NIL wise, but I'm sure it was a large, bit of money to come play quarterback for this football team. It would have been frustrating to go with Cutter, knowing that all that money you spent on Calzada, you could have used at other places on your roster. I think what's best for the future of this program, I think, would be starting Cutter Boley. What is better for this season, I think you could talk me into that being Calzada. But if I'm Mark Stoops, I'm worried more about the future than I am right now. And some might say, well, what does that mean? I mean, the future, this season's not going to go great. The front office knows that. What athletic department the athletic department knows that. Mm-hmm. They know that. They know that we are damn lucky if we bump into a bowl game this year, right? If Stoops wins 4 or 5 games, maybe 6, I don't think it's going to change. Here's the reality, folks, and some might not want to hear that. I don't think Stoops is going to get fired. I've changed my opinion on this. I don't think he is.
I kind of agree with you.
I think I think that knowing what we're going to do NIL wise with
unless we lose to Toledo,
then maybe. Then if we lose to Toledo and we win like 2 football games, then the conversation. If we win 4, I think we win worst case scenario 4 football games. I think we'll beat a Vandy. I think Tennessee is going to not be as good as people. I think we're going to bump it. We're going to bump into a win. We always do.
Yeah.
And so I think we win 4 football games. That's the worst case scenario, frankly. But I just don't think Stoops is going to get fired. And I know there's a lot of people listening to me say this right now and going, I hope not. Please, like if we're 4-8 this year, please fire him. I think the athletic department is quite complacent with what's going on with Coach Pope, him getting a lot of this money from the whole, 0.5 million. And Coach Stoops is just happy having his job. I think they're happy with that. They don't want to pay his buyout. They don't want to do that. I think something would have to go very, very, very wronger than we anticipate happening for him to get fired, Carson. So, I mean, do you agree or disagree? And I think a lot of folks don't want to hear that, but that's kind of what the vibe I get from the athletic department right now.
Yeah, talk about Oxford. That was definitely a word. But yeah, I kind of agree with you. I think that I think Stoops will be here for another year, like you said, unless anything goes wronger. But sometimes it's just going to be hard to justify that next year. But I see that's the way it's trending because, I mean, I just have a hard time believing they're going to let him go. Plus, I think he's finally got the locker room back, which is good. The guys are actually motivated. Like, I don't just say that to make a joke, but the guys are actually motivated to win. They have a better chain of command. They got some of the locker room cancers out of there. I just think it's a better, well-run machine than it was last year when it comes to team chemistry and locker room stuff, which will translate onto the field because it always does.
Yeah.
So I think he's got it going kind of in the right direction. It's just going to be, do we have the resources he needs, and will he get it done this season?
Yeah. I agree with you. So that's why, to go backward to the conversation that I started the derailing of, but to get back on talking about quarterback, I do believe, like I said, that I think what's better for the future would be to throw Boley out there. Now, I do think that leash is quite short. I think it's like, when you see the kids in the mall with the backpack, it's that short. That's the leash that Calzada has. This is my take. If we A, lose to Toledo, or B, beat them close and then get steamrolled by Ole Miss, I think Boley's in just like that against Eastern Michigan. Because that's who we play week 3, right? I think he's in against Eastern Michigan. Boom, just like that. I think that's how it goes. I think if we handle Toledo and lose a close one to Ole Miss, they're going to keep rolling Calzada out there. But my point is, if this staff believes that Cutter Boley is the part of the future, and I believe they believe that based on what they've been saying. They believe he's part of the future. If this starts to go south, what do you gain from playing Zach Calzada? Nothing. The dude is going to be selling insurance next year. That is the reality. Okay. He is done after this year. He's not an NFL quarterback, and no disrespect to him. I just don't think that's happening. I think he's had a great college career. I think he's going to have a good year this year. But if we're sitting at 2-5 or although I don't see 2-5 happening because I think like the Vandy, like if we're sitting at 1-5, throw Boley out there, see what happens, see what happens, because you are at the point, if that happens, if you're 1-5, 1-6, well, that's not, because if we'll beat Toledo and Michigan, beside the point. If the record's, if it's not looking great in SEC play, okay, if we're 0-5 in SEC play or whatever, I say you throw Boley in there and say what the hell and find out what he's got. Because then at least if he looks really good, you've got some excitement for next year, and you're not going to have to spend $3 million on an NIL money on a quarterback. You can spend it on receivers and running backs and tight ends and secondary players, and you can spend it elsewhere. So that's why I think that if it gets ugly, you go to Boley. If you are competing, and then you stick with Calzada if he's playing well.
I kind of blanked for the last couple seconds because I was just imagining you in the backpack leash when you were younger. But
you mean younger? My mom still takes me around on that thing.
Poor Dana. Gosh,
I had the ADHD in the mall, man. It gets rough. I need that thing. It keeps me. It's like when they put these things on the horse that keeps it going straight. I need those. Otherwise, I walk sideways.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, but I agree with you. I mean, I think if this season starts to take a turn for the worse at any point, I think you throw Cutter in there and just live with him, because he's going to be your guy next year, and you got to show him some love as well. Because if Calzada gets down and isn't doing good, and you don't play Cutter and you just ride with Zach, then who knows? Maybe Cutter leaves after this season because other teams will want him. I mean, it's been a pressing issue already. So I think you ride with Cutter Boley, but I mean, we gotta wait and see what Zach does first. I mean, maybe he comes out and goes crazy this season, which I hope he does. But if not, I think Cutter's a great backup option to have.
Yeah, I agree. But I mean, my last thought for today, and this is back onto the whole Stoops conversation, but ladies and gentlemen, I just don't think he gets fired this year. There was a few weeks, months where I thought a bad year and he's gone. I think that Mitch Barnhart is happy with Coach Stoops and what he brings. And I mean, once again, Kentucky football, if we make a bowl game, we're happy. And there was a point in time where we thought, hey, it's moving in that the needle's moving. It's moving to where we could bump into a college football playoff. And I think that it's kind of, especially now with what's going to happen, it's going to be, if we're giving this much money to our basketball team and all of this stuff, we know how it feels like. Carson and I always say recruiting's fluid. This NIL stuff seems fluid because it changes every day. But if we do give all this money to basketball, he can't compete in the SEC. He just can't. It's not possible. It isn't. I'm sorry. It is not possible to do that, to compete in the SEC with so much less money than these other teams. It's just going to be impossible. I mean, do you agree with that, Carson, or do you?
No, I completely agree with that. I mean, that's the way it's heading right now, and I don't expect that to change.
And if that's the case, I'm trying to play devil's advocate for the athletic department. If that's the case, why get rid of Stoops, pay the buyout, and go get Summerall? And if you don't think he can even come in here and be successful because he's not going to have the money to do it. Now, I do think Summerall, I think you give him $20. You could say we're going to give you a Caniac combo as your NIL to players, and I think he can win football games because I think he's that good. Yeah, but I don't think the athletic department's going to do it. I think they're going to say Stoops.
You can also move the funds around whenever you feel a little bit more established within that too. So if you're going to make a new hire for a coach, you move the funds around just a tad bit, because football's still getting a lot of money. It's just there's more bodies that you have to get on a football team. So you have to budget better if you want to put it in those terms. But I think Summerall would come here and crush it, like you said.
I do too. I think he'd be.
Did you watch that little Tulane put out a little hype video for their like first? It was yesterday, dude. Summerall got me fired up.
I'll have to check that out. But I mean, I think that might end up being it's gonna be the Wolverine meme where one day Tulane's gonna sneak into the playoff. Now here's the deal, and I've said this: if we don't get he's an SEC coach soon.
Yes.
So our window is closing for Mr. Summerall. So if we don't make the move soon, it's not going to happen.
I mean, heck, he almost got Tulane in the playoffs.
And I think he's got a shot to do it again this year.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, it's now or never for Summerall, and I feel like it's going to be never, as much as I hate to say it. Because once he gets an SEC job and he establishes himself, especially if he gets a job that's giving money fully to football or mostly to football, I just don't think he's going to come.
Yeah, what if he gets hired at Auburn or Ole Miss or something like that?
Where that money's going there. I just don't think he would leave. I don't know his connection here. I get it, but it's just like I don't know. And I think that's going to be one that we could look back in 20 years and be like, that was the biggest mistake the Kentucky athletic department has ever made. And I'm not trying to be crazy, hot take today. I think he's that good of a coach, and I think missing out on him, I think he's going to be a legendary college football coach down the road. He's a young guy.
Yeah, and I would love the fact that both so Summerall played here and Pope played here. So you have the two players headlining your programs now, which is really, really cool. Yeah. So I would like to see that.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, Carson, you got anything else? That's all I got today.
That's all I got. Hope everyone has a good Tuesday. I know I've got a shorter week, so it's gonna be fun. A little more relaxed on this Tuesday instead of upset. So everyone have a good one.
Hope everyone has a great rest of their Tuesday. Like I said, Carson and I will record the Toledo preview on Thursday. I'll put it up on Friday, so I'll probably put that up a little earlier in the day than I generally do. I'll probably put it up at like in the morning, at like 8 or 9 in the morning. So that'll come out on Friday. And we will preview that game. Hope everyone has a great rest of their Tuesday, and we'll see you next time right here on the Wildcats Today podcast.